Of all the famous musicians in the world, thousands of them can't read music. I learned as a very young musician just how important this skill is, so today I'm going to teach you some of the basics. Here we have the two most common clefs. This one is known as treble clef, and this one is the bass clef. What these tell us is the pitch of the note on their respective staves. The next thing we want to learn is what each of the notes are. So the most common place to start is at middle C. So you see here these two notes separated from each other are actually the same pitch, but for purposes of writing music, there's a space to define which which clef it refers to. So starting from C, we go up to D, E, F, and G, and anytime we hit G, the next note starts over at A, and then B, C, D, E, F, G, and actually goes beyond this staff onto other higher staves. Now on the bass clef, it moves of course in the opposite direction. So we have C, B, A, G, F, E, D, and so on down. So these are those are the notes that tell us what pitch to play at any point during the music. So if we take this and apply it to a piece, we would say this is A, E, A, B, E, C, D, B, C, D. We can go through all of these notes and define exactly which tone they are just based on where they are on their respective staff. Now how we know what speed to play these is defined by these two numbers right here, called the time signature. So the upper note, or the upper number, defines how many beats there are per measure. So in this case there are 4 beats per measure. Each measure is defined by the distinctive line going through the middle of the staff. So right here, this note is worth 2 beats, whereas each of these is worth 1 for a grand total of 4 beats. Because there are 2 notes on top of each other, that means they are played at the same time. If it's played on piano, either by just using 2 different fingers, or if played on other singular instruments, played by 2 people. So, and then the bottom number here defines which type of note receives 1 beat. So next we learn about the types of notes. So the most common note and the longest one is known as the whole note. This means that however long the measure is, this note is played for the entire time. And then of course the half note is only played for half of that measure, a quarter of the measure, an eighth of the measure, or 1/16 of the measure. And of course they each have respective rest notes saying to not play for that amount of time within the measure. If we go back to our music piece, we know that there are 4 beats in each measure, and a fourth of the beat receives 1 part of the measure. So that makes quarter notes equal 1 beat. There are pieces of music that would be defined by 2/2 time or half time. So if we were to create a piece here, defined by 2/2 time or half time with the same amount of notes, this would actually be played in half the time. So in this piece there are only 2 beats per measure, whereas the only 2 parts of the measure are respected as a beat. So this is actually 1 beat, and each of these are now half of the measure, because only half as much of the beat is respected as in this example. So one of the last things we learn about is that the time signature. What this does is it makes slight variations to the pitch of each note. So instead of it being C, D, E, F, G, there are slight half variations in between each one. You have C sharp, B flat, E flat, and so on, each having a slight upper or lower version of itself. With these basic understandings, you can really move through almost any piece of music and have a general idea of how the music is played. Well, so this allows you to recreate music that's already been written, such as replaying Beethoven's or Bach's pieces, or this even allows you to save new music for future generations.